It's deadline day in Wales, we're still clinging on to our job at Cefn Druids, and our director of football, Ben Williams, is starting to turn into Bat Nevin. Yes, hello and welcome along to another episode of this FM22 story, The Head Coach with me, Daniel. It's part 6 today and we are back for January transfer deadline day with Cefn Druids here in Wales. It's actually the 2nd of February, for some reason I'm not sure what the delay is. But today, our director of football has a chance to add to what has already been a very strong window. So if you're looking forward to finding out what he's done so far, what he might do for the rest of the day, and then a massive game against Newtown away from home, with 5 points clear of them now in 11th place, they're in a second relegation spot. And if we can get a victory today, we can start looking at achieving a mid-table finish. So if that all sounds good to you, please do chuck a thumbs up on the video, subscribe down below for daily FM22 content. We've got our Hemel Hempstead series continuing every day at 11:30 throughout the beta, and in this one, 3:30 every single day. We are flying along with Cefn Druids, and I feel like we're finally starting to succeed. It's the first time our job manager performance has gone above a C. It's now at a C+. We're just about eking towards mid-table, and I know this is ridiculously ambitious. With 9 games to go, we're 7 points behind Flint Town, and if we catch them, we will be in the European playoff come the end of the season. However, I think that's probably pushing it a stretch. If we can get 8th, I'd be thoroughly thrilled. And to be honest, I just want to make sure we survive comfortably. We've got a 5-point gap now. Let's make sure it only gets bigger. We have throughout much of this season been consistent against the bottom sides, and we are playing against them regularly now till the end of the season. We started off with a tough one against Haverfordwest and got a result there. So it looks like we're on course for some real success. We have made some slight tweaks tactically due to the January work already done by our director of football. And I tell you what, it's pretty good business. So let's start with the schedule so I can show you the results. You'll see a couple of new names in there at points. You are with me for Pennybont and Aberystwyth at the end of December. Disappointing defeat to finish, but we bounced back. We got a draw against them on the opening day of January. It was a 1-1 thanks to a Charlie Edge free kick early doors in the second half. But again, his injury problems crept back in that day, and he is now out pretty regularly again. He did play against Connors Quay the week after. This game was the ultimate FMing of an opponent. Let me go and show you the match report because you won't believe it. It was our worst performance of the season. We had 2 shots, 1 on target. We had 28 against us, 10 on target against us. Expected goals for us, 0.3. For our opponents, 3.25. And at the end of it, thanks to a new hero who we're going to meet at the moment, despite having 10 men, we somehow nicked a victory away at the champions. It was the moment that changed our season, and how on earth we got it, I'll never know, because we were at real risk of a sack before that game. We went on to lose in the cup against Pennybont, unfortunately. It was Joe Stanton who got our goal, one of the signings early in the season, really coming to fruition now. Of course, he's having to play well and regularly because Charlie Edge is out, but he is delivering, which is a positive sign. Home to Haverfordwest, he didn't have such a good game, but that man Nick Roberts scored again, and Jake Bickerstaff opened the scoring for us. I was really pleased because we went behind to that 82nd minute penalty, and we bounced back and scored straight from the kickoff, so brilliant spirit from our lads. And with all the bottom sides in the league to be played now, twice in a row for most of them, I feel like we've got an opportunity to really push away from the relegation zone. Said this before though, and it's all gone wrong. So let's see what happens on deadline day first. We have got a little bit of action earlier in the month, and it's excellent work. I'm afraid for the Phil Mooney fan club, which seems to be ever growing down in the comments section, it does look like now he's potentially going to be on his way. The director of football, he'd been transfer listed from the start, don't forget, when we took over the club. The director of football accepted offers from Colwyn Bay and Llandudno, and I think it looks like he's going to move on as we go into the final day. He accepted loan offers for Darren Evans, but it looks like he's not gone. But let's look at the deals that have been done, because they're the ones that are all important. The ones going out of the club have freed up a lot of wages, so he's got to take credit for them. The first 2 we knew all about. Neild was pre-agreed, Hampson happened towards the end of December. Brandon Lockett was being discussed in the last episode. He's dropped down to the 2nd tier with Colwyn Bay, and he was involved in our squad, so I was a little disappointed by that. But he has been replaced, so I've got no complaints. Andy Brown was an emergency backup left back. He's been sent out to Denby, where he's going to play in the lower leagues. And then Hudson Parry, one of our star under-19s for the bench, the backup goalkeeper as well, has moved on to Bala. So we've only got one in the senior squad at present, which is a slight concern, I've got to admit. However, 2 players have come in this window, and one of them's exactly what we needed positionally, and one of them, as you've seen so far, has been an absolute superstar. So let's start with that man, Nick Roberts. Came in at the start of the window. What a signing. 16-year-old Welshman, a brilliant player, 3-star ability already, got 5-star potential, as I'm sure you can imagine. 2 goals in 3 substitute appearances in the league, has made a massive impact already. Won us 4 points just by scoring those goals. So Nick Roberts, a potential superstar, and with Bickerstaff's loan ending at the end of this season, we've got a direct replacement, which is always something I'm thinking about if we keep a job in the head coach. The second one, though, is exactly what we needed. We talked about getting either a centre-half, a right-back, or a centre midfielder so we could cover that other gap in the squad. And Chris Baker is a very solid centre midfielder from Cardiff Met Uni. No wage contribution, he signed on amateur terms. Good pass for the ball, great engine, which is so important. And a good personality too. Determined, works hard, and got decent technique. So he's also going to come in as a box-to-box midfielder. We've adapted our tactics slightly in the middle. I was sick of the ball winners getting sent off game after game. So he's coming in, he changes the tactic of the midfield, and Yolani Bayo now becomes our first choice right back. Everything looking good on that front. So now, with the squad filled to a decent level, or at least the team filled to a decent level, I should say, we wait and see what on deadline day our director of football can add to that. Are we going to get any stardust? Or is it just going to be a backup goalkeeper and disappointment? It's 8 o'clock in the morning. As you can see from the news item, we don't get invited because we're not doing the transfers. But there's only one way to find out what's going to happen. Let's skip ahead and we'll report back with news. Well, 1 o'clock, and our first news of the day is that Phil Mooney, everyone's favourite by the looks of things, maybe just for causing us chaos, is leaving the club after being transfer listed since we arrived. He's going to Llandudno, has turned down Colwyn Bay, and depending on who's promotion favourites there, might be joining us in the top tier again next year. But Llandudno signed him, no sign of any inj yet, which is really concerning. There's only 11 hours to go. Don't let me down like this. I wanted just one little bit of gold dust in our squad. Well, maybe as I predicted actually, it's 8:15. We have got an offer made, we've got a set to sign, and we've got a player that's joined, but it is just a backup goalkeeper. Having said that, 24-year-old Kelland Absalom has come from Barrytown United, but 2-star ability, 2.5 potential, is exactly the same as Michael Jones, our current keeper, and he's 10 years younger, so he might end up being a first choice goalkeeper. Only on 65 quid a week, agreed to be a backup, and only signed for 4 months bizarrely, but let's take a look at him. He has joined the club, they're not happy about him, but we'll do the classics, we'll ask Lever to welcome him, hopefully he'll have no problems with that. We'll go and register him for the squad because we need to have 2 goalkeepers and it is an essential, albeit not exciting. Now let's look at his report. He is rated slightly worse than Jones up front, but a slightly bigger potential. It's a risk to change your goalkeeper at this stage of the season, and his attributes are not tempting me to do so. 6 for aerial reach, 6 for handling, for kicking, 5 for throwing, 7 positioning, 6 concentration, 7 agility. He's not better than Michael Jones, is he? How has he got the same star rating? Is it just because he's quick? Because everywhere else, it is, because Michael Jones is brilliant in comparison. Definitely the better goalkeeper. The fact that he's only better at punching it more often and eccentricity, obviously he's a better shot stopper, but everything else is Michael Jones, and there will be no change to our goalkeeping lineup. There's only 3 3/4 hours left. I don't think we're going to get another deal. So it is the underwhelming deadline day I was hoping to avoid. But regardless, it's been a really good window. Not making himself Pat Nevin yet is Ben Williams, but he is certainly doing a decent job. We'll be back in a moment if there's anything else, or as the deadline passes. I'm afraid no further action. The deadline has now passed. A few players leaving Welsh clubs, so Insall going from Connors Key to Morecambe. So there are some positives in terms of other teams getting weaker. Of course, we're not going to be playing any of the top half sides now. But deadline has passed. It's been a quiet window. But the players we've got are what we asked for. We got a really good centre midfielder who's going to make the squad solid. We fixed the backup keeper role. And a director of football even gave us a great young striker to look at. So I think we've got to be pleased with that. What we've got to do though is get results on the pitch. And with Baker in the side, we want to become more consistent. We want to become more aggressive. And we've got an opportunity now. We go away to Newtown, again in one of those must-not-lose games. If we lose it, we're back in a relegation fight. And this is one of the problems you only get in the head coach. Pavel Vieira coming to us to complain about the fact that we have not strengthened the first team squad. And we couldn't do anything about it because the director of football is in charge of transfers. So all I'm going to do is try and butter him up and praise his conduct. Hopefully he'll react well to that. He was unhappy that we'd sold Brandon Lockett. And we said to him that we're going to sign a replacement, which we did in Cole Baker, who's better. But obviously it's not a good enough one to appease him. He's the one playing alongside them in midfield, so he's got every right to complain. But there's a beauty of the head coach. Ben Williams makes the decision and we cut all the flack for it. I will just say very quickly, I don't know if it explains his slightly better work. Ben Williams has now got 4 for judging player ability. So he has had a whole attribute point increase there, I think. So looking slightly better. He's out of contract at the end of the year. So we might end up with another new one next season. Generally, when that's happened in summers before, it's been chaotic. It's been awful because we've never really got players in. The director of football has got settled in and then not signed anyone. And it's become a bit of a problem. So hopefully he sticks around. Hopefully we can keep our job. And maybe we can have a summer where we build for the future. Because the youngsters he has brought in fairness to him, have been absolutely excellent. Well, we're back for the Newtown game with a fitness test. But very quickly, let us finish the subject of transfers. Because there's a new feature this year as part of the staff meetings, which I really like and have asked for a number of years for the head coach. And that is that your assistant, your coaches, your scouting team and various groups of staff at the club will now suggest that players should be transfer or loan listed due to a lack of playing time, unhappiness, not signing contracts, whatever. So now we don't have to wait for years because a player's not been transfer listed. Have 100 young players sitting in the reserves just because none of them are loan listed. Because we can now follow that advice. So I've decided as part of the head coach this year, if any of those are suggested by our team, we're not in charge of transfers, so we agree to whatever they say. So if they say these 3 players should be transfer listed, it gets done. We just agree to the suggestions every time. And I think that's going to lead to a few problems a little bit later down the line. But at a club like Cefn Druids, it's very clearly defined who the first team squad is and who the reserves are. But today, we should have Charlie Edge back on the bench. Cody Roberto is fit, the new vice-captain since Phil Mooney has left. But Newtown away is a difficult game. And if we lose it, we're right back in relegation trouble. It's been one of those seasons, really, where it's been 2 steps forward and then about 5.5 back. So we'd like to avoid that if we can. Let's go and sort out our lineup and we'll be back in a moment to run through the first 11. So we've got a pretty settled team at the moment. The only difference, obviously, is Bio has gone to right back. Baker has come into central midfield. He is now a box-to-box midfielder. And Stanton is covering for Edge, who's back on the bench today. Ricky Watts was ineligible against his parent club last week. He's back on the bench for this one too. And we're actually in probably one of the strongest positions we could hope to be in at this stage. The only ones out of the squad are the new backup keeper and 3 real reserves. Pommy, one of those who we've been told to put on the transfer list, so he's sitting there unhappy now. But at the moment, our 11's pretty good. So the lineup we've got today is Michael Jones in goal, not being threatened by the new keeper. Bio and Owen the fullbacks. Owen has moved on to a support duty too. We're trying to be a little bit more aggressive. Lever and Lewis at centre half. Lewis now 3.5 star and accomplished playing in the central defensive role. Agyemang and Stanton the wingers. Vieira and Baker the new centre midfield partnership. And in Bickerstaff alongside Roberto up front. And both of them in slightly better form now. We're just waiting for Baker to get to match sharpness. That's the only thing missing at the moment. But to be honest, this is the best we've looked all season. Let's hope we can turn that into form on the pitch. And here is the lineup. No superstars in the Newtown team. They are one of those who we've beaten this year. David Cottrell is obviously a familiar name from the past, but is a little bit past his peak now. Having said that, he's still got a screamer in him. He's still got the technique. We're going to have to be very careful against him here. If I show you his attributes a little bit, still got some of those technical ones, but physically, he's miles over the hill, which is a positive sign. However, Newtown have got to throw in very early doors, back down that right-hand side with Cottrell and Walker. It's laid up to Williams up top. He tries to switch the play and he finds Motrix, a good ball, up towards Breeze, but Lewis intercepts. It's back to Michael Jones, who can clear long. Finds Walker the right, back to Cottrell. Into Rowland. Newtown keeping the ball well here. O'Sullivan over the top. It's flicked on for Breeze. That is awful, awful defending. But the offside flag is saving us. We have to go and look every time a goal goes in, but thankfully our blushes have been spared because it's been an awful start from Cefn Druids. And it's a corner kick for Newtown as they're on the front foot again. Lewis heads away to Roberto though, and now we've got a counter-attack. Can we work downfield with Owen? We can't really. We're forced backwards, and then we go sideways. Roberto back to Stanton. Not making progress, and now Newtown are back in their shape. It's really poor. Lewis into midfield for Baker though. The new boy gets it up to Bickerstaff. Out wide to Bio and Agyemang. It's only his second game today, Baker, as well, so we've got to give him a little bit of time. Bickerstaff right side of the box. There's three in the middle if we can find them. Back to Bio, who finds Vieira. Into Carl Baker. Up to Agyemang, to Bio. Early cross in. Roberto's there! That is a really well-worked goal. It ends with the big cross into the target man, but Bio much more of a threat on the right. In midfield, we're playing some lovely football with Vieira and Baker. Both of them good in the pass. Both got decent technique. With our first shot on target and the first one of the match, we lead with 20 minutes gone at Newtown. As we're back with 9 minutes to go in the first half, Vieira laying the ball up to Bickerstaff. He dropped deep there and he gives it away. Not the best on the ball. Through ball trying to put Williams in one-on-one, but Lever intercepts to Lewis. Looks such a good centre-half partnership. When you consider the troubles we had at the start of the season, if we had this team, we'd be 7th no problem. As Williams knocks down for Cottrell. Back to Walker. Very arrogant talk when we're 1-0 up in an even game. As Breeze gets it wide. Motrick inside to Hughes. But through ball towards Cottrell. He's still got the ability. But so's Michael Jones. It's a wonderful save. And it remains 1-0 Cefn Druids. As we're back just a minute later with Morgan taking a big long goal kick for Newtown. Goes all the way through to Lewis at right centre half. He goes direct himself, but Bickerstaff can't win it. Header's only as far as Agyemang. Bickerstaff running in behind. He's one with a keeper. Oh, it's awful defending. We'll take a gift like that all day. The defender and the goalkeeper getting a right mix-up. The keeper's clearance hits the defender. It bobbles through to Bickerstaff. And he's got an empty net from 6 yards. Just passes it in and celebrates. And at half-time, we lead 2-0. And surely if we win this, the relegation threat is officially gone. And mid-table finishes, probably not far off. So let's get into the second half. Let's keep the lads on board. And just hope we don't have a poor start again. Something we've been guilty of a lot this year. But with 10 minutes gone in the second period, we've got a throw down by their corner flag. Bio and Baker playing a 1-2. Header away is from O'Sullivan from the cross, but it's only as far as Vieira. He gives it to Baker again, who's looked really assured in there. Vieira up towards the centre forward, but it's straight through to Morgan. Wasn't the best ball in the world. You can see Stanton, a little bit inconsistent at 16, struggling again today. So it might not be long before Charlie Edge gets his reintroduction. It's out to Bio at right back though. At the moment, I'm loath to change it because we're right in control of the game. Agyemang on the right to Baker. Through ball towards Roberto. Crucial foot from O'Sullivan. It was almost a one-on-one chance. As Lewis gets it at centre half, Newtown are just pumping it long, and Lever and Lewis are having a comfortable day at the office. As Bio chips it up, Bickerstaff's in, beats the keeper to it again. It's 3-0, and now I will make the change. Stanton off, Edge on. He'll get just over half an hour of football. And we're in a dreamland at the moment. I said once we got this squad together, I thought we'd be decent. And it just frustrates me now, knowing for 5 months, we were one player away from having a half-decent team. And we knew it. We kept saying it. It didn't matter which of the 3 positions got replaced. The one that has allowed us to have a good team. As Williams gets it to Breeze. Let's have no late dramas, no grandstand finishes. Breeze gets it up again. They've committed loads of men forward, Newtown. Roberts, the left back, goes down the line. Puts in Evans. This is a great chance. And it's a very good finish off the underside of the bar. Jordan Evans scores. It's 3-1 now. We're going to have to be careful. We don't want to let them back in it. Now we've got a free kick up the other end with Charlie Edge in towards Bickerstaff chasing a hat-trick. Morgan comes to smother it, just gets there first. And now if he plays the long kick away, we might be in trouble again. But hopefully we've got our shape back at this point. Williams flicks on, nobody's there. Michael Jones can deal with that all day. I'm happy enough if Newtown keep that approach. We go long towards Bickerstaff instead though. Agyemang caught on his toes a little bit there. Up towards Vieira who intercepts, and now Baker. Agyemang back to Bio. It's probably, I know I'm speaking very soon here, it's probably the most in control of a game I've felt all year, bar that cup tie right at the start, as Agyemang puts in a brilliant ball. Roberto flying onto it, right in that corridor. It's 4-1. We might have had our turning point, and we owe our director of football a bit for it, but I think we've got something to look forward to now. What a performance this has been. With 20 to go, we're going to make a change in the middle. I'm going to bring on Ricky Watts for Baker. He's building his match fitness. We just want to keep him fresh. And Ricky Watts, he's not very good, but he's going to do a job for us. And I'm going to leave him in centre midfield. Hopefully, it'll be a nice finish for us. Well, I'd kind of like one of the strikers to get a hat-trick so I can give a little run out to Nick Roberts. I'm going to do it anyway with 10 minutes to go. Been a brilliant display. We've had a similar number of shots, but our chances have been by far the better. Nick Roberts is on for Bickerstaff, who got 2 brilliant goals. And Watts has got the ball in the middle to Lewis, to Watts again and Vieira, up to Roberts. Made brilliant impacts off the bench so far, and he's in down the right again here. It's an acute angle, his cross is blocked. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Agyemang nearly joined the party with a wonderful volley. It goes over the bar in the end, but if that had gone in, I would have leapt out my seat. Let me tell you, that does not happen often. But what a performance. I am a very happy man. We've waited a long time to enjoy this Cefn Druids side, and I've got a feeling this finish to the season could be a very solid one. Let's see what that leaves us with in the table. It looks like a mid-table finish now. We are 8 points clear of Newtown, who are in 11th place. We are just 2 points off Haverfordwest and 5 points now because Flint Town dropped points at home to the bottom side Carnarvon. 5 points off reaching the European playoff at the end of the year, subject to the cup winners. That would be a remarkable finish, wouldn't it? Let's have a look at our club vision now. It's got to be good. They're satisfied. This is officially mid-table. Fantastic stuff. We failed in the cup, but we passed in the League Cup. We are really, really happy with that. However, looking at this now, I'm a little concerned about next season's recognised of the best of the rest outside the top 3. I don't think we're going to be 4th next year, but regardless, a brilliant finish, a brilliant episode, and a really good transfer window from our director of football. Bickerstaff will get praise. I'll go and give a couple of others some as well. But let's have a look at when we're going to be back, because I am starting to get excited about managing Cefn Druids. So I think because there's only 8 games left, we'll just come back for the last 1 or 2. Depending on how important it is, of course Flint Town away is the penultimate game, so if we can catch them, we'll probably show both. If not, just the one and the end of season review. And of course, we'll have a youth intake in between. We could yet have a European playoff episode to finish the season. But that was by far the best performance of the season. A brilliant transfer window, a great display. I am loving life at Cefn Druids at last. Who doubted me and said we were going to get sacked? It ain't happening now. We are going to the top. I might be getting a bit carried away, but if you did enjoy the episode, the transfer window and the performance, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe down below for daily FM22 content from 2 long-term stories. We'll be back at 3:30 tomorrow in this one, where I'm sure we might be brought back down to earth. And in the meantime, at 11:30 each day, we've got episodes from our One Club story with Hemel Hempstead. There's also live streams on Twitch. We're live every day this week at 6 PM with Derby County, so do come and join the chat over there. There's links to all the playlists and the websites up in the eye above if you want to find them. But let me know in the comments what you thought of those transfers and what you thought of that brilliant performance. I think we're finally getting somewhere now. And I'll see you next time to see if we can back it up.